Hello, and welcome to the seventh out of 8 films about mole calculations. This and the next one are both about limiting reagent calculations. And this first one really, I guess, like with the empirical formulae films, talks through some of the principles, whereas the second one actually gives us some practice doing these sort of calculations. So hopefully by the end of this film you will actually understand what a limiting reagent is and what a reagent that's in excess is. Okay, and we'll think about how we're actually going to find out which one's which. All right. So, quite a commonly used analogy for a chemical reaction and finding a limiting reagent in excess is making ham sandwiches. Okay, so if our ham sandwich is the product of our reaction, right, then the reactants are ham and bread, and in this particularly exotic ham sandwich there's also some veggies in there as well, but we're going to ignore those. We're just going to say that we need 2 bits of bread and 1 slice of ham, okay, and they're going to make a ham sandwich. Alright, so there's our equation for the reaction of producing a ham sandwich. Alright, now if I had 2 million slices of bread and only 1 slice of ham, I'm going to be limited by the amount of ham that I've got. I'm still only going to be able to make 1 ham sandwich because I've only got 1 slice of ham. So my bread is going to be in excess and my ham is going to be the limiting reagent. In other words, the ham's going to run out before the bread does. Okay? If on the other hand I had 10 slices of bread and 10 slices of ham, because I need 2 slices of bread to every slice of ham, I'm actually going to run out of bread before I run out of ham. I'm going to be able to make 5 ham sandwiches, okay? And my limiting reagent is going to be the bread, okay? So my ham is I'm going to have leftover ham at the end of it. I'm going to have 5 slices of ham left over, okay? So the limiting reagent, this one runs out before the other one. In the excess, there's more than enough, I suppose, as the word suggests, okay? But when we're trying to decide later on how much product we're going to form, or in other words, how many ham sandwiches we can make, right, we can only base that on the one that runs out. Okay, so it doesn't matter how much bread I've got. If I've only got 1 slice of ham, I can only make 1 ham sandwich. That's what we mean by a limiting reagent. Okay? So here's an example using masses. Again, this is kind of just talking us through the steps rather than trying to actually do a full-on problem. Okay, so find the limiting reagent and the reactant in excess when 1.5 grams of calcium carbonate, so 1.5 grams of this, okay, react completely with 0.73 grams of HCl. Now, this is a stoichiometry problem like the others. So we're going to use the fact that we've got a mole ratio in the equation, 1 to 2, okay? And the first thing that we're going to have to do if we're going to use that mole ratio is find the actual number of moles of substance that we've got, okay? And the number of moles is equal to the mass over the molar mass, okay? Which in the case of calcium carbonate is going to be 1.5 over, I'll just do round numbers here, 40 plus 12 plus 3 times 16, okay, so that's 1.5 over 100, which is 0.015 moles, okay, so I've got 0.015 moles of calcium carbonate. Now if I deal with the hydrochloric acid, 0.73, okay, so the blue one, 0.73 over the mass of 1 mole, so that's the molar mass of HCl, and that is 1 plus 35.45, okay, which is 0.73 over 36.45, and that is, looks like about 0.02, 0.73 divided by 36.45, that's 0.02. Okay, so now I've found the number of moles of both substances. Okay, that's always my first step. If I'm finding a limiting reagent, or in other words, if I'm given information about two substances in the reactants, I'm trying to find which one there's more than enough of, right? Then first step is always to find the number of moles. Okay, so now moving on, right, and just remembering how many moles of each we had. We had 0.015 of this and 0.02 of the acid. Okay, now ideally we've got a 1 to 2 ratio. Some people would do this next step in their heads. Okay, they go, right, if I've got 1 mole of this, I must need twice as many moles of that. Have I got twice as many moles of this? No, I don't. Right, so I haven't got enough of this, so this is going to run out, and that's going to be my limiting reagent. Okay, so that's the mental arithmetic way. But what I want to do is just quickly show you a foolproof way that you can do if you can't do the mental arithmetic. Okay, and what we're going to do here is we're going to take the actual mole ratio, right? So we're going to say, what is the actual ratio, or in other words, what's the fraction of calcium carbonate to HCl? Well, in actual fact, that is 1 over 2. Okay. You might wonder, well, how do I know which way round to put these two? It doesn't matter. So I'm going to just do it the other way round as well to show us that it works that way as well. Okay. So if I do it that way round, I get 2 over 1. Okay. What is the ratio of the moles I'm actually given? Well, that was 0.015 over 0.02. Okay, and if I did it the other way around, it would be 0.02 over 0.015. Okay, and we can calculate these numbers. Okay, this one's actually 3/4. Okay, or 0.75. Right, and this one is 1 1/3, isn't it? A third. Okay, or 1.33333. Okay, now what I do is I compare what I've just found in actuality with what the ideal ratio from the balanced equation is. Okay, so I'm going to do that in both cases just to show that it works both ways. 3/4 is bigger than a half. Okay, so that means that this number is bigger than it needs to be to make our fraction this size. Okay, so this number is too big. Okay, or you could say that one's too small. If that one's too big, it's in excess. If that one's too small, it's the limiting reagent. Okay, so HCl is the limiting reagent. Same answer, that's good, right? Let's do it this way. 1 1/3, that's not as big as 2. So in other words, this number's not as big as it ought to be. Okay, so this must be the limiting reagent. Or you could say that if this number's smaller than that number, then this number's bigger than it needs to be, and that's the excess. So it doesn't matter which way I do it, I always find that calcium carbonate is in excess and HCl is the limiting reagent. So whether you want to do it the mental arithmetic way or not, whether you want to do it the ratios way, it's fine, it's up to you, but that's the way we're going to approach these questions. Okay? We're normally going to need to use that information about our limiting reagent and our excess later, because once we've found the limiting reagent, we can decide how much product's going to form, because we know which of the reagents we can base our product on. Okay, we're not doing that in this film. That practice will be in the next film. Okay, and just in case you hadn't soaked this up before, practice is quite a good thing to do.